It was a medieval.
Helldiver, we have at last discovered the vile intentions of the Illuminate cult.
Thing, and it's funny too because like it's wild to think how many games, um, especially single player games, are medieval, but they go medieval fantasy because they think that people don't want to see regular medieval life, which to a certain extent they're right. Um, I think that medieval fantasy is just a market improvement over regular type video games. Because medieval fantasy is just not that. It's just not that fun. Like the actual reality of things, how they were in the medieval times, are not as fun as people think they were. Medieval fantasy is a little bit different because you have magic, you have monsters, you have things like that.
Yeah, the whole vibe of it's supposed to be different.
Yeah, it's literally a fantasy. Like when you look at the difference, it's actually legitimately a fantasy compared to what medieval is. Because like would they even have like the mercenary bands going out and fighting monsters and things like that? That was just not a thing. But like it was more kind of like mercenary bands going over and being hired to um, fight in tiny scuffles and wars between lords and having.
Initiating FTL jump to the Hessaway system.
Yeah.
FTL jump successful.
Lord, like you're a member of like this lord. Basically, he owns you, honestly, to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Then you would die that way. Um, but in medieval fantasy, there's upward mobility because, for one thing, you could go to a. Well, it depends on like what kind of medieval fantasy you're looking at, but like if we're talking about like the Japanese versions that have like the Adventurers Guild and shit like that, then which I honestly hate the concept of the Adventurers Guild. I'm honestly
Me
like,
too. Honestly, I'm kind of over that concept as well when it comes down to it, because it's like it
it's stupid.
feels it's stupid. It feels overplayed out. Like
Yeah,
it's a
it feels
lot
like a
of
video game
things.
when you see an Adventurers Guild because like I'm gonna be honest, like what the fuck is an Adventurers Guild? What is that? What is that what does that really mean? Like what is an Adventurers Guild? It doesn't even make sense in concept. Like I get the idea of like mercenaries, picking up contracts and stuff like that. That's a little bit different.
Yeah.
But adventurers, that's just you're just an adventurer. Like what is an adventurer?
Exactly. Like it's literally it trivializes the whole ordeal of, hey, you have goblins that do all sorts of heinous things to people, by the way,
Mm,
that live here,
yeah,
and it just no, yeah, it trivializes it a little too
it
much for me.
trivializes it all. And like and the funny thing about it is that when you see an adventurers guild, it makes you automatically think of things like an RPG. When you see like, oh no, this is a mercenary like group that is picking up this contract, a group of mercenaries picking up a contract to go kill or root out some goblins. That's a little bit different. That's a different vibe to it. Like because it's a more serious vibe. Like I think that you get a very high fantasy kind of vibe when you hear mercenary, like when you hear adventurers guild,
Yeah.
um, kind of thing. And then I mean I will say I do kind of like the concept of a mages guild, but it kind of depends on like on how it's done. Like to a certain extent, there's not going to be a mages guild. Like that just doesn't make sense unless
I like
magic
when they
is
do
just
it
so
more like a
free.
college or a family. I'm gonna be honest.
Exactly. I like colleges. I like the magic colleges, and the reason why I tend to like that is because colleges are regulated.
Yeah, exactly.
And also they're it's not like a I can join if I feel like it kind of thing, or all the magic is super accessible so that I'm like able to just do what I want. It's more of like a no, there's a collegiate system in place. Sometimes there's a bar for entry,
Yeah.
and then there is a block on information as well, that you
Exactly.
can attain. And yeah, so I think I like that concept a lot better. It's like if you're a person with magical talent, you have to go to this college. You have to basically go through the curriculum, learn how to use your magic, keep it regulated, get certified, and become sanctioned. Because you have reality weapon powers, you should be like that's what they would do in real life. Um, and then what else? Let me see. I I like the concept of monsters in specific places, like, and whether that's like beastmen, orcs, goblins, uh, larger like monsters and stuff like that. I think those are all pretty cool concepts. Um, bandits are pretty cool as well. Only thing about bandits is that bandits, for one thing, they're not gonna like. You're not gonna come across bandits unless they know they can win. That's the only time they're gonna attack you. Because especially if these guys are just surviving as criminals in a specific area, they're not gonna attack like heavily armored like adventurers like or mercenaries with plated armor and like all the stuff like that. They're not gonna attack you unless they think they can win, and they're gonna ambush you. They're not gonna like come out and just be like, "Hey, drop all
Come
your
up off
weapons."
that. I would say, yeah, come up off that, big
Yeah.
dog.
No. They're gonna attack you, hit you hard, and put you at a disadvantage. They're gonna shoot you from like the trees and things like that with crossbows or bows to try to take out as many of you guys as possible before they move in and lose people because they can't replace those people.
Yeah, I will say though, the biggest
Mm.
gripe with that is that would assume that we are hoping to get a version of fantasy that tries to take some sort of realism into
Yeah.
into effect. And I'm just be honest, the whole concept of that fantasy in general just won't do that. They won't do that. And
It
you
depends.
rarely
I
ever
mean-
see that. I'm gonna be honest.
I think it depends. Like I agree with you that you rarely ever see it. I mean, I think if you're looking at high fantasy, you never see it. High fantasy is inherently just like happy-go-lucky, very samey and stuff like that. It's very like realism light, I will say, because a lot of things just don't make sense in these worlds a lot of the time. If you look at it from a realistic point of view. Dark fantasy is a bit different. I think the dark fantasy does tend to make a lot more sense, and that's like the inherent aspect of dark fantasy is that everything has an impact on the world. And then when I look at like grimdark fantasy, it's like heavily into the realism of it and what this would actually be like. So I think it's just different genres. I tend to like grimdark like fantasy sometimes, but specifically I like Warhammer fantasy, like the old realm. I think that they do a really good job at kind of painting that realism into almost like a high fantasy kind of vibe to a certain. Well, not really a high fantasy vibe. It's like it's a very grim dark like fantasy vibe, but like you like there's still mages. There's a magic college. There's definitely not an adventurers guild. There's just mercenaries. And there's like what is it called? In the human empire, one of the human empires, like they specifically the only way that they're able to really
Mission at 30 minutes remaining.
I guess bridge the gap and compete with some of the other fantasy races is they have gunpowder. And elves don't use gunpowder. Dwarves do use gunpowder, but the dwarves actually were the ones who made a contract with the humans and sold them the secrets of gunpowder. And then the humans have kind of ran with it and continued doing stuff. So it's like, I like that concept because that's like, we're gonna be honest here, like that's the only fucking way humans are gonna be able to compete like with a lot of these fantasy races is if they had gunpowder and like guns and cannons. Like you're not running down on a fucking orc with a fucking sword, bro. You're a human, bro. Stop it. Like, come on, man.
Yeah, that's fucking facts. That's like saying I can go fisticuffs with a fucking gorilla.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is.
No, that's literally saying, yeah, I can go fisticuff with a
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, gunpowder is the edge that's gonna give humanity the edge there. Because, like, I don't care how nice of a swordsman you are. If that orc run down on you, he is tanking that fucking hit and he is ragged on you.
Yeah, unless the conversation is that, hey, the humans aren't necessarily 100% actually humans. I know some fantasy races fantasy settings kind of go down that route, which is cool. Like they empower themselves with magic or some shit in order to.
They have like a magic sword or something like that, or like something that gives them a bit of an edge. If you're gonna get up against an orc with like a regular steel sword, you're probably gonna get folded. But like
that sword's breaking and it's gonna giggle when it breaks.
Exactly. But I will say that comparatively, like a lot of the time, like the humans have to like be empowered with like specific things or something like that, or have like I think that a lot of the time the artifacts like magic swords and things like that, since they're not as plentiful, they're usually passed down through noble families in the Warhammer Fantasy setting.
Yeah.
Which would make sense. Like, yeah, it's like, okay, like this thing has been passed down through our family for a certain amount of like centuries or something like that, and has become synonymous with our at that point.
Yeah.
But I mean, also though, there is that kind of situation where you just gotta be a normal fucking dude, and they tell you to hold the line as this big ass minotaur comes sprinting up.
I ain't fighting no minotaur.
You gotta hold the line with your halberd. And all you gotta do is trust in the man right next to you. Hope that he hold the line too. Which
I'll say, yeah, absolutely not. I ain't holding no fucking halberd. It's crazy. Against no damn minotaur. I'm not fighting no minotaur. I'm not fighting no orc. I'm not fighting no giant cockroaches. I'm not fighting no ratmen. I'm especially not fighting no damn lizard folk.
Oh, the ratmen go stupid. I ain't gonna lie to you. The ratmen be running.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yo, yeah, like, no, I'm not fighting none of that.
Like, the main thing, like problem about the ratmen is that they call them Skaven in there, but the main problem with them is that they might not physically be that strong, but there's so many of them.
Yep.
that you're gonna get overwhelmed because they all have little tiny fucking swords and daggers, rusted swords stabbing you.
I'm saying.
Getting between your armor.
They gonna make sure you die.
That's a fact.
Enemies coming up behind us, M1.
Yeah, and it's like, I do like the concept of ratman though, because that's a very Warhammer, fantasy like concept with the Skaven. Also vampires Those are pretty insane too. In Warhammer Fantasy, I like their concept there too. And then
I'm just not too deep of a fan into fantasy, even when we start talking about the dark ones, because like I find it very rare that I find a story that hits that nice middle ground when they want to tell a dark story. Like sometimes they just be going way too fucking far. It's like, listen, I'm looking more for realistic rather than some depressing ass world or some shit. Like, and I think that's really what my main issue is with fantasy. Like, it's very rare for me to see a nice middle ground.
no, I agree with you. I think that Warhammer Fantasy does tote that line very well, but I think that when you look at something like, I think 40K is too dark sometimes, too depressing. That's one of the reasons why I don't really like 40K all the time. I think Trench Crusade is very, very dark.
Absolutely.
Even darker than
It's
fucking 40K.
definitely darker, yeah.
But like, I do like Trench Crusade. I wouldn't want to be in Trench Crusade, but I like Trench Crusade as a concept.
And that's my thing with that, with why I say that. Like, I'm supposed to want to, like, have an ideology of this world. Like, I'm supposed to fantasize about it. That's the whole point of the fantasy in it for me. It's like, cool, if I step into a fantasy world, my goal is to be immersed into it and think, wow, what would I do with those powers? Not, I'll kill myself. Like, you feel me? Like,
It depends. It depends. Like, I mean, I think immersion into the world is a huge aspect of fantasy, but I do also think that just because you read about a world and you are able to be immersed in it, doesn't mean that you always will want to be like, yo,
and that's true.
I would love to be in this world, you know? Because like when you look at stuff like, I love the Mass Effect universe, but at the same time, I kind of look at the Mass Effect. I mean, I would love to be in the Mass Effect universe as well, but at the same time, like when I look at like what happened to people who were colonists and then getting snatched up by the Reapers, I was like, you know what? Maybe not. Maybe not. You know, but like, or being in Star Wars, and being in Star Wars sounds really great and cool until you see that like the Sith and the Jedi are starting wars, every galaxy-spanning wars, every single like every couple of decades or centuries. You know.
Yeah.
Those are insane. So I mean, being in the Star Wars universe would still be cool, but like, you know, yeah. Like, it's like stuff like that. And then, like, when you...
And it's like, are you even going to be force sensitive? You're going to be like...
yeah,
shit
you
like
probably
that.
will not be force sensitive, honestly. Because, like... And then, even if you are force sensitive, are you going to be force sensitive enough for you to
even make an impact?
For you to be able to become a Jedi? Because, like, wait, like that's like a 1 in, like, a billion chance or something like that. That you're force sensitive enough to be a Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to be disciplined enough to go through the training. And then there's no guarantee after all of that you're actually going to be a strong Jedi.
Exactly. You might just be a fodder Jedi on top of all that.
Yeah, you might be average. Like, exactly. Like, because most people don't understand that, like, they look at the Clone Wars, they're like, oh, Jedi were everywhere, yada, 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 this, that, that. It's like, but there was only, like, maybe 10,000 Jedi. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Throughout the entire Clone Wars era, and that was Jedi at their peak. Like, this was the peak of how many Jedi there were in the galaxy. So as much as we see Jedi in like fiction and things like that of Star Wars, there wasn't very many of them. Like most people would look at Jedi as kind of like legends, like things that like you don't see. Like you're not gonna see the guy on your regular day basis. You probably can go your entire life without seeing a Jedi or seeing a Force user.
Yeah. Amazing thing.
And if you did see one, you would see a guy who could move shit with his mind. You're like, what the fuck is that? What is happening? You have a better chance of going over and becoming a Mandalorian.
Nah, don't let the Mandalorian fan too. You say that.
You do, like, it's facts. Like, you got a better chance of becoming a Mandalorian. You do, but like, I mean, then you gotta hope that you are. Well, for one thing, like Mandalorians, if you're an adult and you try to become a Mandalorian, it's not happening. You have to be raised in their culture as a foundling.
Yeah.
And
I chose the worst weapon yet.
if you do become a foundling, that probably means that your parents and your whole family is probably dead. Like if you're not like born and raised a Mandalorian and don't come from one of the clans.
Well,
you just
honestly, at this point, like, what's so bad about being an orphan in that universe? If we're just being completely fucking honest.
no, hey, that's fact. I mean, like,
Because if you're a Jedi, guess what? You
shape.
might as well be an orphan. If you a Sith, guess what? You might as well be an orphan. It's like, nigga, it's like, there's no real winning there at the end of the day. Like, you just not gonna have a family. You traded a family for power. It is what it is.
Pretty much, honestly. Because as a Jedi, they're pretty much stripping you of everything, and then as a Sith, they honestly stripping you of everything too.
I'm saying they just doing it with hate in their heart. With the first one, the other one, it's like, oh no, you have to clear your mind.
It like with the Jedi, they're kind of stripping you of it because they need you to be centered. Like it depends on which Jedi Order though. Because if you're in Luke's Jedi Order, you can do that. But
that's if they survive.
Yeah,
I mean, what? Who said that?
Nah, like Luke's will make sure that they survive. Like they'll let you keep your family and shit like that. They'll let you do everything. There's a lot more like Jedi, like families of Jedis in the Luke era of Star Wars, which was pretty dope. And he also let you have attachment as well with like a lot of people because he felt that those make you stronger and keep you connected to the world. Which is fire also. But the Sith, they go kill your family in front of you or torture you every day just because you feel like it, honestly.
They said you looking mighty thick.
Come here.
Absolute bag. Come here, nuts.
What? This is all part of your training. Bend that ass over. Wait a second.
He said, let that coochie breathe. Hands on your knees. Hands on
your knees.
You know, fuck away. He Jedi mind trick you too? Absolutely not.
Drake would have been perfect for that.
Not like this.
Oh boy, Drake would have been like, hands on your knees. Now shake that ass for Drake. Shake that ass for Street.
Shake that ass for Drake. Shake that ass for free is not what you want to hear.
You don't want to shake that ass? He gonna hit you with a light force lightning.
He said,
when you seize it up on the ground, you hear him over here unbuckling his hands. Now I gotta teach you a lesson. It's like,
now I gotta teach you a lesson. Yeah, that right there is enough hate to get me on Darth Vader level right there. Nigga, that right there gonna give you the hate of Darth Vader.
All that hate to it, you still need to be trained by him.
Absolutely. Say, nah, that nigga better not ever sleep within 200 miles of my vicinity, or I'm gonna do something heinous to him while he sleep. I'm a firm believer in that. Don't take no shit. Don't go to sleep. Don't be in any form of weakness around me, because I will make sure I take full advantage of that shit.
See, the funny thing about that is that
there's a context.
Unfortunately, Jedi are so cracked that you probably not gonna get your chance to actually go at him until he trains you to be stronger. Because the main thing is Jedi have like prescience and foresight, so they can just see a couple of seconds or minutes into the future to see an attack that's gonna happen or any danger. They can sense danger that's gonna happen to them. Some are not able to react in time, but if it's a Sith, they went for power, so it's a little rough. You know, you better catch him when you in the middle of a duel and he get injured or something like that. You finish the duel, you kill the dude, and you kill him.
That's facts. That's what I'm saying. Like, nigga, don't be in any form of weakness around me if you did some shit like that to me. Trust and believe.
Nah, that's facts.
Because when I catch you, Ricky, would I catch you?
Would I catch you? Would I catch you, Ricky?
Trying to see if I can get these samples. Okay, I got them. Now can I get out? Yes. Needed these samples for one of them orders, you feel me? Trying to get them medals.
We go.
I still haven't unlocked the red armor, but it's only because that passive I didn't really like that much, to be honest. But I was gonna get in the car with you, but you over here flipping the vehicle when I pull up. It's crazy. I just seen a little animation where he hit a hill. It looked like he was trying to ragdoll, but he was still in the seat. So when he ragdoll, you see like his little arms start flailing when he up top, but he not moving. And then he
Ain't no way.
nah, that's bad funny.
Extraction request confirmed. Shuttle inbound.
Watching sentry! Illuminate, shot.
And one thing also about, like, yeah, you better hope a Sith don't find you, honestly, because, like,
That's facts. You gonna get touched in some non-consensual ways. It's bad.
yeah, like, maybe
They go violate.
but they definitely go torture you and beat you, especially when you fuck up. And then they go
bad.
seduce you with the power to be like, yo, like, oh yeah, you want this power, don't you? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, go kill that man. Boot him. Cut his legs off. Make him scream.
He said, "I want him to suffer."
It's like, what did he do? He existed.
He said, "I wanted to get my coffee one, and this nigga had the audacity to smile at me and shit." It's like, yo, I hate to be that guy, but like, there's just no way that that's like the only reason. He said, "Are you questioning me, boy?" He said, look at him having a good day and shit. That don't just make you angry. It's like, no, actually.
That don't make you angry? Crazy.
Blowing ships out the sky. No, sir. You drop them off. We are not guaranteeing you getting to go home to your family. And I truly mean that. Oh my god. How did you shoot me through that smoke? It's a blizzard in progress. And you locked in. You said just before my last sight of vision, I'm gonna make sure I get your bitch ass.
Administering T-minus 30 seconds.
Imagine you had hit markers in real life.
T-minus
Hit marker
40
in real life,
seconds.
that's great.
This fucking nuts.
ETA T-minus 10 seconds. Clear landing zone.
More super!
This dude spinning